Welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. I had lost what I was going to say. Probably what my name is. There we go.
Oh, God.
I'm Jacob, and the other co-host is Evan.
Hi.
If you couldn't tell from the episode title, we are covering the Clone Wars, and it's going to be it'll be season 2, episode 20 through 22. It is the Boba Fett kind of revenge arc.
Yeah.
So, unless, Evan, you have anything that you would like to state or share, I will get into a summary of what we're covering, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
I don't think so.
All right, here's what we got. So, in episode 220, we have a group of very young clone cadets tours the Star Destroyer Endurance, where Star Destroyer?
Venator.
Freaking ChatGPT, dude. What I do, because I take the wiki entry and take the summary of it, and that's often like 10 paragraphs, and then so I just copy and paste and put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, condense this down to 4 lines or so. I haven't had that method screw anything up until right now. So yeah, the pre-Empire Star Destroyer, where one recruit calling himself Lucky, secretly Boba Fett, quickly stands out by demonstrating extraordinary skill during a live fire exercise observed by Jedi minerals? Mace Windu? What was I going to say? Jedi generals Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker. Taking advantage of the tour, Boba slips away and plants a booby trap in Mace Windu's quarters, killing a clone trooper, then later sabotages the ship's reactor, severely damaging the Endurance and forcing its evacuation. The cadets are launched in escape pods, but Boba sabotages his own to drift away, where he is recovered by bounty hunters Aura Singh and Bosk. Choosing to abandon the clones and join the bounty hunters, Boba departs just before Anakin and Mace arrive to find the remaining cadets alive, while the crippled Endurance is left on a doomed descent towards the planet Vancor. And then in 221, after Boba Fett's sabotage, the Endurance crashes on Vancor, and Windu. Why can't I say his right? I said Mace Windu, whatever. It's late. Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker search the wreckage, discovering clone survivors who were executed by a precise assassin. Windu realizes the attack is part of the plot against him and narrowly saves Anakin from an explosive trap, though both Jedi are injured and trapped. Bounty hunters led by Aura Singh observe from afar, while R2-D2 heroically delays them, escapes in a starfighter, and delivers a distress call to Coruscant. Jedi reinforcements arrive just in time to rescue Windu and Anakin as the wreck collapses, with Windu praising R2's bravery. And then finally in 222, while recovering on Coruscant, Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker receive a transmission from Aura Singh, who reveals she is holding Republic officers hostage, executes Commander Pons, and challenges the Jedi to find her. As Plo Koon and Ahsoka Tano search Coruscant's underworld for leads, tensions rise among the bounty hunters, with Boba Fett growing conflicted and Aura executing Castus after overhearing his betrayal. The Jedi trace the hunters to Florum, where the confrontation erupts. Aura escapes, Boba is captured, and the remaining hostages are rescued just in time after Boba is persuaded to cooperate. Aura attempts a final escape in Slave One, but Ahsoka disables the ship, causing it to crash. The arc ends with Boba and Bosk taken into custody on Coruscant, where Boba apologizes for the damage he caused, but reaffirms his hatred of Mace Windu.
Yeah. I will say before we go into the ad as well.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I guess ChatGPT missed on that summary, one of the hostages taken, old Commander Pons,
Mm-hmm.
does not survive.
No, he got executed.
Yeah.
Who was Pons again?
That was Mace Windu's, like the commander of his
yeah.
battalion.
Because I recall his
Yeah.
name before.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, because there's like that scene where it shows them saying, "We got your peeps. Give us Mace Windu."
Right.
And it's like, "Show him we're serious. Kill him."
Blap. Blap. Got his egg. All right. We have an ad. Let's listen to that.
Oh boy.
This episode is once again brought to you by Evan's Cat Bath Wildlife Cleanup. Brother's tongue just won't stop licking the fauna of today. He's even expanded his business venture to accommodate for his lack of care for their breathing status. Yes, his new venture is roadkill cat baths. He licks roadkill.
What? You just had to
Anyway.
double down on that one, didn't you?
I don't know.
At least you didn't put my phone number in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't like keep licking freaking dead animals, you freak.
This is news. I must be sleep licking again. And I went away for a while. It must be back.
Yeah. Well, anywho, you want to kick us off on what you've observed about, I guess, 220?
I guess a big thing with 220 that stuck out to me was Boba's proficiency with the Venator's weapon systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have that, like you mentioned in the recap there. Like other clone cadets like try it and they're shooting at like targets, and they're all missing. I think maybe one other clone cadet actually hits a target. But Boba hops on there and just knocks him out like nothing else. And it just intrigues me because clearly he's had training, I'm assuming, from his father before his death. But when Django Fett is killed, the Venator's not even a ship yet. But I imagine the weapon systems are probably pretty similar across different starships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting, like just how proficient Boba is compared to the other cadets, and even one of the actual like clone trooper gunners, like jumps up in shock when Boba hits like that trifecta right at the end. So he's definitely got some pretty good skill for sure. I just thought that was interesting.
Something that just made me. I remember seeing something about the chronological order of this one. And this one actually preceded Season 2's 14th episode, Duchess of Mandalore. So it's another one of those weird ones. That's what I thought.
Oh, where it's out of chronological order.
Right, but I thought that it meant something else. But it got me curious. I was like, okay, how long after Django's death is this?
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure. No.
Okay.
What I found here was.
I was gonna say that's a weird spot. That's a weird road to go down there, but okay.
1 year.
Okay.
And maybe not even 1 year after Django's death. So that's where we're at with this. So obviously he's like pretty revenge driven. It's not like he's got any sort of closure. Not that it would happen over several years even potentially, but that is where we're at. Django died in 22 BBY and this episode is 21 BBY. So,
well, and the problem with Boba's revenge goal, his revenge is against not just a Jedi Master, but arguably second, third most powerful Jedi alive right now.
Yeah.
Because Mace Windu, I think at this time, I would say arguably the only Jedi more powerful than Mace Windu would be Yoda. and maybe Plo Koon at this point. By the time you get to the end of Clone Wars and you get into Revenge of the Sith, I would say Obi-Wan's surpassed Mace Windu. But at this point, I would say probably just like Yoda for sure, and maybe Plo Koon.
Gotcha.
And the only reason I say Plo Koon is because would Jedi have done like sparring matches against one another? And Plo Koon's the only one to actually have beaten Yoda in one of those. That's the only reason I would say arguably Plo Koon.
Gotcha.
And so it's just like, Boba, I get where you're coming from, man. The dude killed your dad, right? I get it, but this just sucks for you that it happens to be this guy.
Yeah. The thing, and if anybody's familiar with the wiki or anything, you're going to call me lazy, and you're right. Because these were things just kind of commented on there, and I thought they were interesting, but I didn't have anything else really to comment on. But in 220, there's a goofy little inconsistency, which maybe isn't inconsistent, but
is it the blaster?
Possibly. Oh, the
when he Boba plants the bomb in the reactors.
Go ahead and explain this one. I don't know.
There was a continuity error with the blaster that the clone trooper hands to Boba, that the Boba then puts it on stun and shoots the clone trooper with.
Yeah. Was he commented on it being a certain type that then was moved to Legends, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried reading into that, and I just got confused. I couldn't tell quite what happened.
Basically, the clone trooper tells Boba that it's like a DS, what's it called? Like DS-10A
DC
or something
15A.
Or yeah, DC-15A. But then I guess some super detailed, like hardcore Star Wars fan was like, actually, that's a DS-15S. And then they went and like moved one of those into canon to make it correct.
Gotcha.
I didn't know if that's the one you were talking about or if it was something else.
I did see that one, but no, I got too confused to comment on it. So this one was that when Commander Pons tells another trooper that he's staying on board the Endurance with Admiral Killian, his his like a waist dress thingy, and blaster pistols are missing.
Oh.
It's like one of those scenes where it's like, I guess maybe doesn't carry over or whatever. But that was just kind of a weird one.
I wonder if that's an inconsistency or if that's just like Pons took that off for one reason or another.
See, and that's what I
wasn't wearing it at the time.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But that was noted. One thing I did think was kind of interesting because it's always weird how like different when episodes air and like the different things that like are fit for guidelines. When this episode aired in Australia on June 9th of 2011, the scene where the clone trooper is blown up entering Mace Windu's quarters and the scene that scene and then where Boba hits a clone trooper with a DC-15A blaster carbon were cut out of the episode.
Really?
Yeah, could have been for rating reasons or technical issues, but for whatever reason that was missing from that like that airing of it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Goofy. Freaking Australians.
Gosh dang it. Stuff's falling on my desk. Well, it was funny, and I made this comment to you before we started recording, but when you were reading the recap and it said Star Destroyer, that was funny because I too utilized ChatGPT to help condense notes and just make it easier.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT on mine put Obi-Wan Kenobi and Admiral Yularen in this episode on the Endurance, and they are not.
Yeah, I don't recall them being in it.
Yeah. I will say, I think an interesting point, not just in this episode, but across the arc as a whole, is Boba's inability, which is a good thing, his inability to actually like firsthand kill a clone. Like obviously when he plants the bombs in the reactor, like clones die, obviously, you know, or when the bomb goes off at Mace Windu's quarters, a clone dies. But those are all like a side effect of his overall goal. That's not him just like pulling the trigger, right? Whereas when he's planting the bombs in the reactor and that clone shows up, he stuns the clone. That clone's going to die in the explosion. The clone's stunned. It can't get out before the bombs go off, you know? Or in the next episode when Commander Pons is killed, Aurra Sing tells Boba to shoot him. And Boba can't pull the trigger, and Aurra Sing ends up pulling the trigger. And so I just...
Well, it's interesting that kind of like where you draw the line on like firsthand shooting or killing versus like, yeah, they're going to die in the explosion. Like they're still set for death. But I mean, thinking about it from the standpoint of like, oh, I wonder why he can't pull the trigger on all these things that are directly resembling his dad.
Yeah. and like, I get that, right? And that makes perfect sense. You know, it does. I find it interesting that he can't pull the trigger, but he's okay with blowing up the ship and killing however many clones, as long as he doesn't have to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
Like he like, obviously he knows a byproduct of setting off this bomb in the reactor is clones dying, but he just doesn't have to see it. So it's not as bad. Out of
sight, out of mind.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But with that too, though, even though he's hesitating or avoiding killing in some of these moments, Boba came so close to taking Mace Windu out. Like, he really did. Like, that clone doesn't show up to tell Mace Windu that Anakin wants to talk. Mace is gone. You know?
No, his plan was pretty well done. Just, these circumstances got in the way, and then...
Yeah, because it's like...
like just that random occurrence.
Yeah. And thinking about that now, there's a scene in a book series that I like to read, where someone is trying to assassinate a very high-ranking person, like one of the main characters in the book, and it ends up failing, you know, and the people behind the assassination attempt kind of comment of like, that was our best assassin, you know, everything went right, you know, the plan went off without a hitch, but you just can't plan for everything. You know, like you can't plan for the unexpected. You can't plan for a clone to show up last second and unbeknownst save Mace Windu's life. Or in this book series, you can't expect, like you can't plan for this other character to show up and save the target last second. And so it's just like, Boba's not dumb by any means. Like this plan was going to work, you know, and even crippling the endurance. It's like that in itself's not going to kill Mace Windu, but that sets him up so good, you know, to pull it off in the next episode. And again, it's just like, Boba probably doesn't have a whole lot of experience with Jedi, you know, not firsthand experience at least. Like he's seen them fight in the arena in episode 2, but it's like he's heard the stories, but how good is the Jedi's reflex? You know, you don't really know until you're in the fight against them, you know, man on man. And so it's just like, his plans are spot on. He almost gets Mace Windu twice in this arc. Like he's so close. And it's just something he couldn't account for stops it from happening. Yeah.
Something that was one of those where it's like, not an inconsistency, but something where it's just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Was that in the middle episode When R2 arrives on Coruscant, Plo Koon asks Ahsoka if she recognizes R2, implying that Plo Koon does not. However, Plo Koon had previously met R2 in Rising Malevolence, although, as he didn't work closely with Anakin in that episode, and Ahsoka did, it's possible that maybe he just didn't, associate the two, but it was like one of those where it's like, but you two have met.
Right. Well, and I think that goes right in line with several other Jedi. Like Obi-Wan does this in A New Hope. Like obviously he knows who R2 is in A New Hope, but he kind of plays off that he doesn't. Or throughout the Clone Wars, Jedi like Obi-Wan or even Mace Windu in this episode, they just kind of like brush the R2 units to the side and don't really think about them a whole lot.
Yeah.
And it's like in this arc, like Mace Windu does not think R2 can get back to, the Jedi Council to send help. He's like, it's just a droid. What's it going to do? But then, R2 ends up pulling it off. And so it's like, it is something that if you really look for it, a lot of, I would say Anakin and Ahsoka are kind of the only two that I can think of off the top of my head that are like, that's my droid. That's my favorite dog right there.
Yeah.
Like
actually,
they treat R2 like a pet, whereas like just about everybody else doesn't.
Yeah. Well, that's true. The last one I just copied and pasted, so we'll see how that is. But it in 222, when Aura Singh asks for Commander Pon's name, he states it to be CT-411 instead of CC-6454 as provided by the Star Wars: The Clone Wars Visual Guide, Ultimate Battles Sourcebook. His designation was later revised to be CC-0411 in the Star Wars: The Clone Wars Character Encyclopedia. So they changed it to conform more to the Lethal Trackdown episode's consistency or inconsistency. So that was kind of a funny one. Were you? Because did you ever? You had those books, didn't you?
I've seen them before, but actually, I just got my first one today.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That's awesome. And I got it because my girlfriend saw it at a bookstore and got it for me for Christmas, but she couldn't wait till Christmas to give it to me. But it's one for episodes 4 through 6. The original trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one that I've had forever that's like, I think it's primarily just Revenge of the Sith. And then I had another one where I remember the cover of it just being Darth Vader, but I don't know where that one ended up. But all those books, the encyclopedias of Star Wars, and it's just kind of funny that because I remember those, it's funny that one of them, once that episode aired, they're like, all right, had to change their data.
Yeah.
For their info,
I think a big thing with this episode or with this arc, and it happens in episode 22 as well, is after Mace Windu and Anakin are saved and they're recovering, Anakin comments to Mace Windu about, we need to track this kid down. He tried to kill you, right? Like, we need to track him down. We need to find him. And Mace Windu has a very Jedi approach to it, where it's like, he didn't kill me, he's not coming back, I'm not seeking revenge, I'm letting it go, Mace Windu does pull, the Jedi card here, and he even, once Boba's captured, he even, comments to him, no harm, no foul, type of thing, and Boba's like, I'm gonna get my revenge, and I think it's good that they included this, because a lot of time at least in the Clone Wars, it's easy to forget the Jedi ethos, what their actual stances on some things are.
Well, yeah, and especially when it's kind of contradicted some, and B, the kind of focus point Jedi is the one who doesn't really regard that,
Right.
So
Yeah, it's like Anakin, who is essentially an innocent bystander in this, right? He kind of plays that role of like he's dealing with all this stuff because Mace Windu is being targeted. He's not the target. He's the one that wants to go after the kid.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, the actual target is pulling the no harm, no foul. But that bothers me though too. Because Mace Windu basically pulls the no harm, no foul, but so much harm was done.
Yeah, because never mind the fact
you're both in the medical bay, all the clones.
Yeah.
Oh man. Which might actually just kind of, I think that kind of puts Mace Windu not as far as someone like Pon Krell, but kind of down that road of more just seeing the clones as an instrument of war and not people.
Possibly, yeah.
I would say Mace Windu has more compassion for the clones than, some of the other Jedi that we see.
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably argue that he probably sees them more as an instrument of war and not people. Whereas obviously like Obi-Wan and Anakin view the clones very differently. And even Plo Koon, they view the clones very differently. And I think Mace Windu, this is just like coming to me now thinking about this. Man, Mace, we gotta talk, man.
Good luck. He is dead.
No, he's not. We never saw him die. He's still alive.
What are your thoughts on that theory?
I definitely think there's merits to it. I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
I think we'll save that theory, more conversation of that for when we get to Revenge of the Sith, because that's definitely something I want to talk about.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, because where my mind's going right now, and we won't dive too far into it, but I'm just thinking, it's like, okay, if Darth Maul can survive, I think that we're probably.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I did look into, because I've always been curious about this, is that antenna coming out of Aurra Singh's head.
Never mind. Yeah.
And so I looked it up, and Aurra Singh gets this antenna, or gets this surgical implant placed in her head by the Hutts. Because the Hutts were trying to basically build the perfect assassin. And so Aurra Singh was an attempt at this, went through a lot of experiments and very brutal training and everything like that. And this antenna coming out of her head is actually a biocomputer and antenna, a cybernetic enhancement given to her as part of her training by the Hutts, allowing her to sense fear and communicate. So it acts as a radio, but it also heightens her senses, particularly picking up on the fear of her targets. It also talks about how Aurra Singh is, I would say, probably not quite force sensitive enough to be a Jedi, but more probably along the lines of like a Han Solo type of thing. Like he's got a little bit more of that like midichlorian count that makes him like anticipate movements like while flying and things like that. So he's just like an ace pilot. I would say she's probably along the same veins as that, where she can just kind of, her reflexes seem almost a little too fast because she's kind of unbeknownst sensing what might come next. And that surgical implant assists with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do we know what happens with her?
I think it's implied in this episode that she dies. Because she's in Slave 1 when it crashes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we do see her again later on in the Clone Wars.
Is it one of those episodes that's technically preceding this?
No, it's not.
So then she wouldn't be dead. What are you talking about?
Right, but it's implied that she dies in the Slave 1 crash. But when we see her pop up later on in the Clone Wars. Because Ahsoka's the one that makes Slave One crash.
Yeah.
It's the episode where it's like the assassination attempt of Chancellor Palpatine on Naboo.
Okay.
And Ahsoka starts having, or no, it's not Palpatine. It's Padme. Another assassination attempt against Padme. And Ahsoka has like those visions of Padme's death, and she sees Aura Singh, and she makes a comment, and people say, "No, Aura Singh's dead. She died way back when."
Okay. What I'm asking is she actually dead at the end of
this episode?
Okay, I'm asking what ends up all the way throughout Star Wars in the end of everything.
I wasn't sure
what her fate is.
Let's find out.
Oh my God, I could have Googled it. It would have been quicker. I was asking.
So she actually dies in the Galactic Civil War.
Oh.
Yes, during the time of the Empire. Says bounty hunter Aura Singh died when she was pushed off a ledge by fellow thief Tobias Beckett during the time of the Galactic Civil War, likely on the planet of Florum, after her career spanned the Clone Wars and beyond, including mentoring Boba Fett, yada, yada, yada.
What is the...
And I guess her death is actually confirmed in the Solo movie. Solo, a Star Wars story, because I guess that Beckett character is in that movie.
Yeah, it's
I haven't watched it all the way through. I need to. Beckett claimed that he just pushed her and the fall killed her, ending her storied career.
So it wasn't shown on screen.
No.
But he says that he did.
Yes.
In that movie.
Yeah, the character Tobias Beckett claims that he pushed her off of a high ledge and she fell to her death.
Huh. Okay. Well, there's the answer there.
Yeah.
Also, that is a surprisingly good movie.
I need to watch it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Looking forward to covering that and Rogue One and Andor, because those, well, Solo I haven't seen recent enough to be able to say that it's in there, but those other ones, peak Star Wars, peak storytelling, best stuff ever. But I was just curious about Aura Singh because it's one of those where she's like sprinkled throughout the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I never really realized, I guess, where that ends up, because some of them just kind of screw off.
Yeah, some of them do, for sure.
So it's just I wonder what happened there.
Like, even Bosk just disappears until we see him in the original trilogy again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to do another quick Google search to see if Bosk is how he died.
I thought he was on, was he in Boba Fett?
I don't think so. So this is saying Bosk's death is unknown in current Star Wars canon as he survived Jabba's sail barge explosion, but his ultimate fate hasn't been detailed, leaving him potentially alive, though he was present during the Sarlacc pit incident in Return of the Jedi.
Also, this is friggin' crazy. Say his full name.
I'm just saying Bosk. What's Bosk Wasak Kradosk?
Yeah. Just with apostrophes, no spaces. It's Bosk, Wasak, Krasosk, or something. Kradosk.
Yeah, that's strange.
Sounds like a Dathomir chant.
But then, of course, we see Castus die because Aura Singh shoots him, and
oh yeah.
I think it's the second episode she kills him. But some of the key themes from this arc, I'll just go by episode. I've got like 3 kind of key themes for each episode.
Sure.
So one of the key themes we'll just start with 20, is grief and revenge, obviously, which is the whole arc. Being Boba's entire motivation stemming from his father's death. Again, the whole arc. Loss of innocence we see here with Boba. Obviously, still being a child, but he's like committing acts of terrorism. You know, like blowing up a whole Star Destroyer. A whole Venator.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see some Jedi blind spots. Like, Boba is continuously underestimated because he's a kid.
Yeah.
And when we see Boba later on in the Clone Wars as well, he's underestimated because he's a kid as well. That's kind of, which, I mean, to an extent, I can understand that, because it's like, what's this 12-year-old going to do to me? I'm a 30-year-old man, but when the 12-year-old is the kid of a bounty hunter who is a Mandalorian and has all of this training, you might want to take that kid a little more seriously there, buddy.
Yeah.
But episode 21, there is Revenge versus Identity, which we see with Boba. He wants vengeance. He wants to kill Mace Windu for killing his father, but he's not really a killer yet at this point. Like, the clone dies from the bomb that he set up for Mace Windu's quarters, but he's not that cold-blooded killer where he's pulling the trigger himself like we talked about. He hasn't reached that point yet, and so it's just like trying to figure out who he is, but also having this single-minded goal going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely see that confliction throughout the arc. We have mentorship in darkness with Aura Singh pushing Boba towards cruelty, like telling him to shoot Commander Pons. And there's a couple others. I'm just drawing a blank of them off the top of my head, but there's a couple others like that where like Aura's telling him to do this, pull the trigger, do this, and like he's pushing back. And then another key theme it has here is fate versus choice, where Boba has opportunities to kill Windu but chooses not to. I don't know if I agree with that. He took quite a few opportunities to try and kill Mace Windu. They just didn't work.
I don't recall any where he's like,
no,
I'll pass.
Well, I guess in episode 21, there's a point where Boba has Mace Windu at gunpoint, but is like hesitant to pull the trigger. And then episode 22, we've got the end of childhood for Boba. Like, him going to prison kind of marks the end of his childhood, kind of the end of his innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely thrusts him into a very violent life from there, even though his life has been fairly violent up to this point. It's got a cycle of violence as well. Revenge only leads to more loss. Which I can kind of see, because, Boba is seeking revenge, and like Castus is there to try and help him. He loses Castus, or kills Castus. Or is there trying to mentor him, but then she abandons him. So just like as he's trying to get this vengeance, the people he's counting on just kind of keep disappearing on him. And leaving him either voluntarily or involuntarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the final key theme for 22 is the foundations of the future. Which is this arc kind of setting up why Boba is so cold and distant and professional when we see him in future content, like in the original trilogy and even into like Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian TV show. This is kind of like that first stepping stone to him kind of getting away from his emotion and trying to keep that professionalism.
All right.
Yeah.
I desire sleep. This is pretty late. But no, I'll be honest, this arc isn't my favorite. I don't really care for Kid Boba. I'm trying to think of what would be good in it. It's not bad. I don't know.
I don't really care for Kid Boba in this arc. I will say it's the one where Asajj Ventress like teams up with Boba and his crew later on in the Clone Wars. I enjoyed him in that one. I think he was pretty decent in that arc, but yeah, this arc
It's been a while since I've seen that one, so maybe.
This arc is, I think it's important for a side character like Boba to help establish his story and get those first stepping stones in place. But yeah, it's definitely not one of my favorite arcs, but I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah. What's a high point of it for you?
I think my high point would come from episode 20. Just seeing the different parts of the Venator, just seeing like the clones at work, doing their, working at their different stations, moving throughout the Venator, actually getting to see more than the bridge or the hangar.
Yeah.
I think is cool. So I think that'd kind of be my high point of just those different scenes there of exploring the Venator as a whole. I think my low point would probably just, and not because it's bad, but because it just doesn't, I don't know. The whole episode 22 just seems too prolonged of finding Boba and Aura and Bosk and like getting them under arrest. Like, I think it was drawn out a little too much there. I feel like they could have condensed that a little bit and maybe put a little other content in there, maybe exploring Boba or Aura Singh a little more, getting a little more like character detail on them rather than following Plo Koon and Ahsoka on their investigation.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about the I would say probably same for low point. I don't know. Something about Coruscant's underworld. Like, it's such a cool kind of concept, but the Jedi, like, weird noir, like, detective crap just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, no, like,
I don't
yeah,
like it.
they could do so much with the underworld on Coruscant. There's, like you said, there's so much there. Like, give us a Coruscant underworld show or movie that just goes into the depths of that during the Clone Wars, before the Clone Wars.
Centered around those two sisters from like season 7.
Please no.
Oh my god.
Please no. but no, if they just did like a Coruscant underworld show or movie during the Clone Wars, before the Clone Wars, even after the Clone Wars, during the time of the Empire, and just leave the Jedi out of it and just let us explore the underbelly of Coruscant. I think there's so much they could do with that, I feel like. But like you said, it's just like the Jedi noir detective thing kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah. Honestly, though, okay, so something you said there makes me think of something in Star Wars that I have thought for a while, and I think it's one of the reasons I love Andor so much. You said, leave the Jedi out of it. I love Jedi. But I think the perfect Star Wars game would be one that you're like not a Jedi, because I feel like that's the one that you constantly take the approach of. I want a good like Battlefield, like Battlefront, where you're playing as a clone. Maybe I don't know, something, but like
maybe a Jedi pops up here and there.
Yeah, but
don't make him the center point. We've got plenty of Jedi center point.
Exactly. It's like it's an overdone sort of thing, and like I like the Jedi Order. I love that. But I do want something separate, and I think that's why I love Andor so much, because it's like, well, first off, stellar writing. Like, the dialogue and how they phrase things it's freaking crazy. But also, not a single lightsaber. Not a single fan service moment. I want to say the Emperor is mentioned once.
Yeah.
And I like that because it sets it apart.
Right.
Same with here. I would love for... Yeah, like a Coruscant underworld, but the way that they take it with the Jedi is just kind of meh.
Well, and even something like The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Where we get Ahsoka. She pops up for an episode. But she comes across, because we've got the viewpoint of Mando, she comes across as like reserved and held back and mysterious. And then at the end of season 2, when Luke shows up, he comes across almost kind of like awkward and reserved and held back. And it's like, this is the viewpoint the people see Jedi from. Whereas when we've got like Clone Wars and the Star Wars prequel trilogy, we get more humanized Jedi. But in shows like The Mandalorian, we see them for an episode or for a brief scene or two, and they just feel mysterious, which I feel like is how they should feel. And so even if you did a Underworld, Coruscant Underworld TV show or movie, and you had a Jedi pop in there for 5 minutes, right? Keep them reserved, keep them kind of mysterious, have that cloak up. Maybe you catch a brief flash of a lightsaber at their waist, but you don't see the whole thing. Keep it mysterious. I think you could put a Jedi in there and under those circumstances, and I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
But
anyhow, all that to say, that was I don't care for when they do that. Lightsaber Lost. I know it was an entire freaking homage to a thing, and that's great, but I just don't care for it in Star Wars. And high point for me, I also kind of liked seeing more of the Star Destroyer. Because any building of detail with the ships, the wildlife, anything like that in Star Wars, I'm enamored with. But either that or the live test for the shooting.
Oh, when Boba, Boba like obliterates it.
Yeah, because what it reminds me of is like freaking trap shooting. Right, they're flinging a disc, and
that's basically it's space trap shooting.
It was fun. Yeah,
space trap shooting.
Yeah. So
yeah. But
so anyway, that's my high and low, and I don't know anything else.
I think my kind of final comments here is, even though this isn't my favorite arc or episodes with Boba Fett, I am glad that they have Boba in the Clone Wars. It's nice to see more depth added to a character that is so beloved. Because he even ever since the original trilogy, when Boba shows up, he has like 1 line or 2 lines in the trilogy. People loved that character, and we just didn't know anything about him. And you get a little bit of him in Attack of the Clones, but you didn't get a whole lot. So I do like that they have these episodes kind of sprinkled into the Clone Wars to develop his character. Yeah. Develop the character, build out the character, kind of give you his backstory, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think that's kind of my final remarks on the arc. And just truthfully, because Boba's like the main character of this episode, just the character as a whole.
Yeah. I see.
So.
Well, I don't have any closing thoughts or anything. Blooper reel every 1,000 downloads, live stream 25 Apple Podcast reviews, and 500 Spotify followers for a full song about Evan being a predator. That's our main things. Comment on the episode if you are on Spotify, because we have those enabled, and we'd love to talk with you and communicate.
Yeah.
But other than that, I am tired.
Well, we will catch you guys next time when we start. If you're listening to the Lord of the Rings series, we'll see you guys season 2 episode of Lord of the Rings, or season 2 episode 1 of Lord of the Rings, or if you're just listening to Star Wars, season 3
Rings of Power, technically, but
yeah, Rings of Power.
Get it, loser.
But if you're listening just to the Star Wars episodes, we'll see you guys for season 3.
After
whatever episode or arc kicks that one out. Yeah. Whatever episode or arc kicks off season 3 of Clone Wars.
Yeah. Actually, we got to build that out. I got to figure out what we're covering next.
But
anyway, bye.
Deuces.